Hello and welcome to Legally Consumed, a consumer products podcast by a consumer products law firm in Australia. I'm Raf Goldenberg and I'm joined by co-hosts Kay Ho and Will McMinn, who are members of the team at CIE Legal.
We chat with executives of consumer products companies, their legal teams, and industry experts who give us a peek into their journeys as people. We explore industry-changing ideas and even share tips and tricks on how to navigate the consumer products space.
This season, we will feature guests from the automotive, retail, advertising and insights, food, beverage, and primary production and franchising sectors.
Hi, I'm Raf Goldenberg. Welcome to today's episode of Legally Consumed. Today we're very lucky to be joined by Desmond Hang, the CEO of Carbar.
Thank you, Raf. Thank you for having me here on this show today. Very excited to talk about everything to do with mobility and auto.
Welcome and great to have you, Des. We're also joined by my co-host Kay Ho. Welcome, Kay.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you join us. We've interviewed some people in the auto space before, but Carbar is really interesting and a very different model, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But we always like to get to know our guests and a little bit about their journey before what they're doing today. And there's we'll go right back to the beginning. So your very first job. What was the first job you ever did?
I think my very first job was, I've always been playing in tech, in IT, so doing IT support. So when everyone says, oh, you studied software engineering, that means that you can fix my computer. So that's pretty much what I did.
Right. And so was that during uni that you were doing that?
Yeah, so during uni, also had a stint, an internship at Nissan as well. So that helped, that sort of combined my passion in cars. Even early in the days in uni, I was passionate in cars. So.
Right. I had a stint at Nissan as well, but I think probably after yours. Started doing that, obviously software engineering at uni. What have you done in between now and then, and how did your sort of career evolve to Carbar?
I guess largely my uni experience was doing software engineering and finance. So I was largely sort of transitioning between tech, product marketing, and within the financial services space. So largely within the digital side of things. So combining all that experience, transitioning through from the likes of iSelect, Trading Post, through to Suncorp. So it has all that experience around financial services that kind of led to where Carbar was sort of evolved and originated. So combining my passion in cars and what I did and background in providing sort of that direct-to-consumer experience, that's where Carbar was born.
Yeah, right. And I know we're going to ask a little bit more about Carbar, but tell me a bit about the passion for cars.
So even early in the uni years, I was very passionate in cars, playing with cars and things like this. And largely even with my co-founder, back in uni days where 70% of our conversation will be revolving around cars. So now it's revolving around Carbar and with cars.
Yeah, right. Did you go to Formula One?
No. Pretty much tinkering with our run-of-the-mill sort of on-road cars.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about Carbar. What is it? How does it work?
Yep. So my passion in cars led us to found Carbar in the sense that we wanted it to be the most progressive and most trustworthy automotive retail brand out there. So in Carbar, we evolved from a virtual dealership model through to offering a subscription-based product in itself. So think of our subscription offering as a no locked-in lease that provides full flexibility. We take care of all the needs of the vehicle so that the consumer themselves don't have to worry. We're providing peace and and confidence to consumers to access the vehicles.
Well, how did you come up with the idea of Carbar?
I think it came up from the sense that, like I mentioned, the experience around delivering a direct-to-consumer digital type product for customers that they can access via online channels. We wanted to be able to retail out pretty much vehicles direct-to-consumer to people. From there, what we found was that the access of a vehicle is highly determined by the price of the vehicle itself. So, when a person wants to purchase a vehicle, everything needs to check the boxes. So if it's a used car, the spec of the vehicle, whether it has a sunroof, what color it has, what the interior condition is. So largely people need to sort of touch the metal. What we found was that we needed to chunk down the payments in such a way where it's in bite sizes, right? So make it more accessible. So that's where our subscription offering was born, where if we're offering a vehicle at a capital value of $30,000 and the subscription rate is at $200 per week, it offers them an ability to slowly get to know the vehicle, but not have the full commitment of that purchase itself. So that's where the evolution of subscription was born and the motivation around that.
So is that the target customer for the business, the everyday kind of consumer?
Yeah, so unlike myself and my co-founder, who are car nuts, our everyday customers are sort of your young millennials, young families. We see them transitioning through cars as well. So think of the journey as sort of a life journey that they're going through. They get married, maybe they're in a smaller hatch. They have their first kid, they upgrade to a smaller compact SUV. Second kid, they upgrade to a mid-sized SUV, and so on. So we see them journeying through a few vehicles with us. They do think of the subscription offering as sort of the access to the mobility without the headaches, because a lot of them are time poor as well, and want the confidence of a fixed set budget against the vehicle.
So you kind of go through life with them.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, you
Good
can say
idea.
that. Yeah, and I think as we are journeying through the journey with them, you can see that they do want that the ability to know exactly how much they're paying, and also have that flexibility in mind, because pretty much the subscription can be terminated with 2 weeks notice period.
Yeah.
How long? Oh, sorry. Can I
you
just
go.
ask, how long is a typical subscription? Like, is there an average time period that someone uses a Carbar
so
vehicle?
a typical subscription normally goes for about sort of 27 to 30 months. So it's trending towards a lease in a way.
Yeah, right. So quite long.
However, it's quite long. However, they may go through sort of 1.5 to 2 cars on average across the portfolio itself.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that way, you can see them sort of in the normal circumstances. What would happen is the person would buy that vehicle. They would then have the challenge of maintaining that vehicle, and then also if they wanted to get rid of the car, then go through the whole selling process, whether you sell to the dealer, which is probably marked down a little, and versus say if you were to sell it privately. So all these are challenges that you have to go through, which the subscription offering doesn't have.
Do they have the option to buy the car?
Yes, they do have the option to buy the vehicle if they do want that. In fact, for this calendar year as well, we're ramping up. A lot of people don't know that we do the whole range of services as we're broadening across the auto sector side of things. We did start as a retail platform. We do have a retail as well as a wholesale to the business. So all these forms basically the business model in terms of how we feed through cars all the way to consumers. Right.
And do you own the cars?
Yeah, we own probably about 95% of the vehicles. So as you can imagine, it's quite capital intensive in that instance.
Who owns the other 5%?
we work with partners, corporate partners that have idle fleets. If they want to get the vehicles out as well, then we work with them as well in both short, medium, and long-term basis.
Well, it's interesting. What makes Carbar's offering different to that traditional lease kind of arrangement, long-term hire? Because you mentioned the average length is quite actually long. I expected much shorter. You can chop and change the cars whenever you want.
Yeah.
So what makes this different?
Maybe we'll take it from short to longer term. So on the shorter end of the spectrum, you'll see the hire car companies, the car rentals, your Hertz and things like this. Those we differentiate against them based on the sort of what we term as a user chooser type scenario. So what happens is if you jump on our site, we have probably close to a few hundred vehicles that's made as choice and selection for customers. So really these are vehicles that we partner with our dealer partners to offer for subscription. So what happens is, say Raf wants BMW 3 Series that's featured by one of our dealer partners, we would actually, and he subscribes for that, we'll actually purchase that vehicle from our dealer partner and then run it through our subscription program. In that instance, Raf is not stuck driving a white Toyota Camry, which is sort of what a car rental company may have as part of their fleet. So it is more of a heterogeneous fleet rather than a homogeneous.
Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum, a lease is sort of a financial commitment for the individual. So that way there's a full recourse back to the individual itself. So you are actually taking out a sort of a financing facility against the vehicle. So it's not really flexible in that instance. You'll probably have to break the lease. There's early terminations that you have to pay for. Our subscription product is vastly different from that because you're paying, the concept of that is you're paying for a weekly rate to access that vehicle. So when you're done with that, you just, like I mentioned, you give us a 2 weeks notice period and then just hand back that vehicle. So there's no more additional on charges or any hidden fees against that.
Sounds pretty compelling. I'm interested in how the business has sort of evolved because, I'm sure it didn't start with 300 cars in the fleet. And tell us a bit about the journey, like how many were you when you started? Where are you now? A bit of the history so our listeners can hear a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I think it has been quite a journey. So I founded the business in 2016. Our first warehouse was sort of shared with our mechanic partner out in Coburg. We rented a space, a warehouse, a derelict warehouse that had a dilapidated roof with rain coming in. Obviously, being cars with roof on them, that didn't really matter. So we could store 20 plus cars for $1,000 per month,
Wow.
which was good value. And that really sort of kickstarted the ability for us to conceptualize what we wanted to land on. We didn't, I guess we had a overarching vision that we wanted to get to, but it was testing the product and making sure that it has that product market fit with the segment that we are targeting. So fast forward to today, we went through a few accelerator programs where it helped us to form the launch pad for us, essentially, to get the word out there, to cut through in media, to really differentiate ourselves. I think in the car space, you've got giants like car sales on the side of classifieds, marketing, and things like this. And then you've got large dealer groups. So how do we create a segment and play in a patch of field that really allows us to differentiate and really provide an offering that's compelling for customers?
Yeah, right. And so when you started, was it just you and your co-founder, and then what are we talking now? Like, have you?
So it was largely myself and a couple of our co-founders.
Yeah.
We were also taking photos of the vehicles. We didn't really have a nice wall to take it on, so borrowed someone else's wall.
Yeah.
Got pulled off because of that. But things progressed from there. Then we got a our first warehouse down in Port Melbourne, and then that gave rise to sort of increasing stock in that way. We got on a few of our angel investors as well. That really helped us to open up networks, and I think our key early advisors really helped us to steer the direction of the business, to give us an informed view of how we can progress, how we can develop the model from there as well. So fast forward to today, we're across the eastern seaboard of Australia. Back in 2019, IAG invested in the business, so that really gave us the capital, the backing, and the credibility to really grow the brand, really grow the penetration of what we did. So that was just before COVID, and then COVID hit, and I think we had a conscious decision point just before COVID where we could either go into direct to consumer or B2B side of things with our subscription product. So our headline product is car subscription at that point in time. We did have retail trading as well as wholesale trading of the vehicles at the back of this. And these are essential services that allows us to efficiently dispose of vehicles. So without the efficient means to dispose of vehicles, then the subscription rate becomes much more expensive. So our ability to efficiently dispose of vehicles caps off the depreciation rate on that, on that offering itself.
So is that sort of having partnerships or arrangements with dealers who are going to sort of buy it, or others who are going to buy the stock once at a particular point?
All disposal is done in-house at the moment. So our own retail trading arms is able to dispose of them as well as
so you sell them direct.
Yeah, we sell them direct as well. So that's probably a part of the business that a lot of our customers don't really know. And that was a conscious thing. Before that, we had all the services on the site itself, but going into COVID, we decided to say, hey, let's focus on an area that creates that differentiation. So then our objective was to make Carbar number one in subscription, so that it's known for that. Firstly, we managed to successfully do that. And it was a direct-to-consumer play, which then we would circle back to B2B side of things to offer our services back to the corporate fleets and things. So fast forward to today, we successfully done that. For this year going forward, we're broadening our range of services. So in one part, we're growing our trading divisions, so both on retail as well as wholesale. So on top of the subscription offering that we have.
And how have the car companies reacted to Carbar? Because I can imagine like they're modelled on consumers dumping a whole lot of cash down and buying a car, and seeing a subscription model where someone can kind of buy a pretty new, pretty nice car without much of a commitment, without much of a big outlay. Do they see you guys as a threat, or how is that all playing out?
No, I think we play pretty well with our corporate partners alongside the manufacturers as well. So early in the piece, we did work very closely with Jaguar Land Rover, where we offered a bunch of Jaguar F-Paces on subscription alongside with them. And that really worked well, especially with manufacturers where if they have problems in terms of moving a certain set of vehicles, a subscription offering can help them to move a bunch of vehicles without them actually having to explicitly drop the price in market, which then affects their new car pricing or subsequently affects the use side of things for them.
So were these new vehicles?
Yeah, these were brand new vehicles.
Right, so brand new cars, and presumably if they're not being sold, they're sitting on the dealer's floor plan. They got to, there's pressure on the dealer to finance them, and this gives them some sort of a revenue stream, does it? And you guys participate in that. Is that how
exactly?
It works?
Yeah. We provide that end-to-end service for them. So we do work alongside their dealer network as well for sort of pickup and deliveries and servicing if needed as well. So that's something that we work closely with the corporate partners as well as the OEMs.
It's fascinating. So, it's just such a big change to the way that people have consumed cars in Australia. So, just on that, what are your sort of observations about consumers' behaviour in the auto space today, maybe even versus when you started Carbar?
I think generally these days there's a lot of talk around EVs. So progressively over the number of years, I think we are beginning to see that the EV penetration rate is lifting. I think in part also because of the contribution back from the government. So the amount of incentives that the government provides back to the public markets will determine the rate of adoption. And you can see that across Europe and US. But I think our view is that Australia will probably track more closely with the US, given that the auto market is more similar with US original counterpart, but much bigger market in itself.
Yeah. But do you think people are more open to moving away from, owning their own car? Like, do you guys have any data on that? Or
we often do sort of a YouGov survey run every year. So I think there are more people that is looking at how do you fund that vehicle, whether it's through a finance offering, whether it's through a lease, whether it's through a subscription offerings, other things. Because at the end of the day, I think people begin to realize that you never actually own a car, especially if you have a loan against it. Even if a person pays with cash, probably the cash is drawn down from their mortgage or whatever that is. I think the key understanding is you're actually funding the gap between what you bought it for versus what you're disposing, which is the depreciation.
It's interesting because I think I have a relative who tried Carbar a few years ago because they had just migrated to Australia and they wanted to try different cars before they committed to buying a car. And so the subscription model was actually really appealing to them because they could try a bunch of different cars, work out what works for the family, and then commit to one. So I guess that's the other side of this. It's kind of a try before you buy type scenario.
Correct. Yeah. So I think in one part, like I mentioned around the EV side of things, a lot of people have the sort of the anxiety around range and things like this, and seeing whether an EV may suit their lifestyle. So often people may sort of subscribe first before they intend to purchase an EV. So just like what you mentioned around your relative, can I live with a 5-seater car or do I need a 7-seater? So then they can try the different cars before that.
I'm test driving a Polestar at the moment. I picked it up on a Friday and I've got it, I think, until tomorrow. And it is the range thing. It's incredible how small of an issue it feels like to me. Like, it's sort of, I'm doing a lot of city driving, so I'm not putting a lot of kilometres on it. But when, I picked it up on Friday, it said it had 400 Ks worth of charge. It's, it's still got 80% of that. You know what I mean? I haven't had to plug it in. The person who handed over the car to me has a Polestar. She said that she doesn't have home charging. She doesn't feel like she needs it. There's one in town where she lives. She does, or near her work. But it does, it's a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, that's what I would be interested in, I think. Trying an EV, figuring out the infrastructure and the facilities, like are there charging stations where you need it?
Yeah, because you've got to spend if you are going to have home charging, you're going to spend a couple of grand to install it. So you've got to really want to do it.
You'd be committed, So Carbar is at this great intersection between tech and auto. So what are some of the challenges you're seeing that's facing the, tech mobility industry?
I think probably the challenges will be efficiently delivering the service and the access to the vehicle itself. So at the end of the day, the car is a pretty capital intensive item or your second largest purchase from a consumer standpoint. So finding an efficient way by which a person can access the vehicle or own that vehicle, that will play, especially within the global economic environment that we're operating in now. So where people are more cost conscious as well. The other side of things will be supply. So no doubt supply is coming through, but there are still choke points. There's quarantine issues, there's shipping issues. Used to have chip shortages, and some of the manufacturers can't actually deliver. So these will play out for consumers as they're translating through to what would be their next cars, especially within the COVID environment where you saw 2020 through the sort of larger part of 2022, there weren't as many vehicles delivered. So this will play out over the next couple of years as well, due to the fact that there will be less used cars coming through the market itself. So I think inflationary pressures will lift the prices of vehicles. So then that way things are getting more expensive too.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that. Is it with the supply issues on new cars and the used car market becoming so expensive, has that affected you in terms of the stock that you're able to get, and then the subscription fees that you're able to charge customers? Presumably they're all connected to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, if a person is intending to subscribe to a car that is $30,000, the subscription rate will be translated out of the capital value of that vehicle. It just makes sense that way. So maybe take it back 3 years, $30,000 could have gotten you a BMW or something like this. Now perhaps you can only access a Toyota or something. So that is the challenge. So at the end of it, it really translates through to the end consumer in that sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Carbar was Australia's first car subscription business. I'd be interested to know, how do you manage competition with the car leasing and the car sales companies, and how do you continue to stay ahead of the curve? I mean, you've introduced new aspects to the business over the last couple of years. So how do you continue to kind of stay ahead of the competitors?
So our business model has been or is pretty fluid in regards to what we do. So at the end of the day, it's looking at the consumer and the market itself, what allows us to play and be relevant within the market in this day and age. We found that car subscription was and is able to provide that product market fit for Carbar itself. So against larger incumbents, against our other competitors, we often see the car space or the auto space is pretty fragmented, pretty big. So there's a lot of segments, there's a lot of customer segments that we can play in, and that's how we see in regards to growing into a more material player in the market.
So with the sort of the move towards sustainability and targets to be carbon neutral and what have you, how have you found that's impacted Carbar? And are you guys trying to get ahead of the curve, or what are you doing in that space?
So that's always on our minds, both in terms of our shareholders, IAG, some of our investors, as well as our board. So there's a key mandate for us to be moving towards the sustainability side of things. We do have, and what that means is a transition from ICE vehicles across to EVs as well. So we do have a corporate program that we work very closely with AGL. So AGL's EV subscription is also in partnership with us, where we're delivering the end-to-end services for them as well. So that helps to both increase the awareness as well as increase the penetration of EVs in the market. We also do work with Aurora Energy down in Tasmania, and them being a fully renewable energy provider. That really place to our hearts in regards to how we're driving the position of
Yeah.
EVs in the market.
Can you expand a little bit on those programs just for the so with the AGL, what are they doing? What's their program, and how does Carbar kind of get into it, and also just maybe a little bit about Aurora?
Sure. Yeah. So with AGL, we provide the end-to-end services in the background for them. So what happens is they're providing an AGL EV subscription to their customer base and distribution base, where they're coupling that with and packaging that with their utility provision for their customers. So we're enabling the underground deliveries, the procurement of the vehicles, and the delivery of some of these vehicles as well. With Aurora Energy, it works slightly different, where they form, or where we sort of enjoy partnership with them. They become a marketing distribution channel for us to their customer base, and then after that, we would deliver on the vehicles again.
Yeah, okay. And so with that's fascinating. So with AGL, are they in effect now? They're kind of indirectly entering into the auto space, using kind of leveraging off their green energy program, and they're sort of saying to their customers, "Hey, don't just come to us for energy, come to us for a car." And you guys are in the background, sort of helping facilitate that.
So it's more of a partnership-based program where they're leveraging the our capabilities in this space itself.
Yeah.
So you can see even I think they view the home services side of things as a complete full ecosystem, where they're also offering broadband or mobile services and things. So the car is coupled together with the e-mobility side of things and home charging.
That's an interesting way to think about it. It's all part of the home.
AGL's just taking over the world.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then so with Aurora, if I can understand that, that's sort of a similar thing. They have their customers, and you guys are
So that works slightly differently.
or they marketing you to their customers.
Yeah, so they're marketing us to their customers and promoting the EV subscription side of things. Their motivation is also in part to push more EVs into the Tasmanian market, being that they're fully renewable in that sense. So that's good for all round.
Yeah, excellent. So Des, I know you've got sort of a background in finance as well as tech. Just turning to the business that you operate in, the regulatory environment that you operate in, I know that there's challenges in the automotive space from a regulatory perspective. But if you were the Prime Minister for the day and you could change one law, assuming you had the Parliament that would let you change the law, what would it be? What would you change?
So I had a close think around this as well. I think in terms of what we wanted to do, a deregulation of the types of vehicles that you can import into Australia will be great, both from a personal standpoint as well as from a business, because there's many cars out there that you can import. From a personal standpoint, it stands of interest that there's some of these cars I like to play with, which you can't access in Australia. But from a company perspective, I think it wouldn't would not affect the local manufacturing industry anymore, because Australia is no longer manufacturing vehicles.
Yeah.
So having the ability to open up to increase the supply as well, which will help to fix the supply chain issues. The other side of things is also giving customers choice and selection, more choice and selection for them and range. Obviously, we do need to be careful around how you deregulate that component, ensuring that there's safe road safety,
provenance, and all that sort of stuff.
So that's probably
excellent. Well, Des, that's been very, very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's been great to have you, and thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll be looking with interest on Carbar and watching and watching its growth and success. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Legally Consumed, a consumer products podcast by the Consumer Products Law Firm. This was presented by Raf Goldenberg, Kay Ho, and Will McMinn from CIE Legal. Our theme song is by our very own CIE Legal house band, which is comprised of Will McMinn, Andrew Marr, and Andrew Thompson.
This podcast production is in partnership with Social Star.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts from. For more updates and behind-the-scenes footage, head to our Instagram at CIE Legal, all one word. You can also check out our website to listen to a range of episodes and find additional free information at www.cielegal.com.au. To get in contact with CIE Legal about consumer products legal services, reach out to us on info@cielegal.com.au. Thanks again for listening to Legally Consumed, and see you all in the next episode.